When I was 16 or 17, I was home whilst someone attempted to break in. The experience ended well for me, not so much for the perp. But I figured it would be interesting to discuss since enough years have passed and I can look back on the situation critically. Before I get into the meat of this story, I would like to preemptively point out that I had little to no tactical training back when it happened, and frankly, didn't really think about home security very much. So, here's my story. Prior to breaking down my reaction to the threat, let's discuss the parameters. My home at the time was my grandmother's home here in the UK, which is basically a 2-bedroom flat that consists of a top floor of a house. Downstairs was one flat, upstairs was another. To get to me, you had to open a creaky gate, break down my front door, and climb a long set of stairs. The gate isn't locked. It faces onto a main street, and the front door is plain wood with a very basic lock, not the most secure, and a privacy chain. There's no secondary door, nothing else to get through once you get through the front door. Now, on to the story. It's around 4 in the afternoon. I'm typing away at my desk and I hear scratching by the door. I ignore it for 1 minute, assuming it's a postman. In hindsight, I should have remembered the postman already came in the morning. But the scratching becomes more aggressive, so I decide to take a peek from the top of the stairs. I can see through the privacy glass at the top of the door. It's this huge bloke. We're talking 6'3" plus and all muscle. At this point, I figured out he was attempting to lockpick his way in. I sort of freeze. The strange thing is, I don't panic or run, but rather just stand there observing him. I'm so unprepared for this event that my mind doesn't really know how to react. So I sort of just stand there, staring. After 10 seconds of standing still and doing nothing, I feel a wave of panic wash over me and retreat to my bedroom. I breathe in and out a few times and look around for a weapon. Now, some of you watching this are probably thinking, bro, why didn't you call the cops yet? Well, I don't know. Honestly, the thought didn't even cross my mind. So here I am in my bedroom, frantically trying to come up with a plan. I decide to confront this person because I am 17 and invincible, or so 17-year-olds tend to think. I, for one, did. But first, I want to be ready. This is the UK, so weapons are not an option. And even in my quasi-panic state, I realized that if this invader made his way into the house, it wouldn't end well for me. The idea of standing on top of the stairs, with a Bowie staring down this moron menacingly, just didn't feel viable. So, in my head, the only option I had was to dissuade him from entering the property. Bear in mind that as I'm thinking about this guy is still picking away at my door. Oddly enough, even though I have been a nut since I was a kid, instead, the first thing I grabbed, instinctively, was my tomahawk. I think to this day, I would still grab a hook for home defense if all I had were edge tools. If I got to choose, either the SOG F06PN Fast Hook or the CRKT Shogun T-Hook. Can't decide which. Anyway, I grab the hook, slip it into my belt loop, put on a pair of Doc Martens, and stomp my way out of my bedroom. Once I reach the top of the stairs, I see the top of this bloke's head through the privacy glass and decide to head over to the living room to get a better look at him from the front windows. Big bloke. Meathead. Looks like an asshole. Alone. Right. Meathead is alone. I go back to the top of the stairs. Oi! What do you think you're doing, mate? How very Brit of me. The meathead obviously heard me, though instead of running away like I expected, he instead tries to ram the front door down. I think about survival. Think about this. House is facing a main road. He has been picking away at the lock for a solid 3 minutes by now, and he hears a guy confront him from behind the door. So he tries to ram it down. Most important lesson I learned that day is that criminals are generally complete idiots. Back to the story. Meathead is really going at the door. slamming his shoulder in, and I can see the frame flexing. So I stomped down the stairs and braced the door. Here is where it all gets very interesting for me, and quite anticlimactic for you. At some point, as I'm bracing the door and feel this parasite slam his shoulder into it, something inside me just snapped. I felt a sense of fury wash over me, to the point that I did something so incredibly stupid that I am surprised I'm still here typing this to you today. I swung the door wide open. Yep, I was so pissed that I thought, this guy is going to get a tomahawk to the face. And what did this genius criminal mastermind do when he saw me? Took one look at me and ran away down the street. That's the end of the story, folks. 3 to 6 months later, I don't recall precisely, the Crown Prosecution Service sent me a letter saying the idiot had been prosecuted. I called 20 minutes after the incident ended, needed some time to calm down. Turns out he robbed quite a few places in that area, but they of course eventually caught him, and he went straight to the slammer. Looking back, things that surprised me about the most about my situation is the way that I reacted. I am a giant nerd, and have been for decades, and yet when push came to shove, I grabbed, and still would grab, a hawk. Like I said, this mindset hasn't changed, and I might write an article on the matter if any of you are interested. Please let me know in the comments. At no point did calling the police, or anyone else for that matter, cross my mind. To this day, I am still more of a do-it-yourself kind of guy. But honestly, that was pretty dumb of me. The amount of rage I felt when I saw someone try to break into my home can't be quantified. The idiot criminal outweighed me by 3 of me, easily, and I just didn't care. I saw red and went for it with zero tactical foresight. The medieval ages made sense to me for the first time in my life. That a criminal would try to pick a lock in broad daylight, and when that failed, ram it down. Brazen is an understatement. In hindsight, I should have called the police first, shouted out that I knew what he was doing and that the police were on their way, then braced the door. I would have been fine with little to no risk. We can anticipate how we will react to stressful events. I'd like to think that I learned from this experience, and I would be more cautious if this happened again. But I know myself well enough to know that if someone was trying to break into my home, my gut reaction wouldn't be to hide out and wait for backup. When it comes to my family and my home, frankly, if you are breaking in, expect war. At some point, despite pragmatic rationalism, we have to be honest with each other and accept that deep down, we are still animals with very basic core instincts. When you feel like your home is under attack and your family could be in danger, it's very difficult to walk away and be calm. I wager that most people, especially in this day and age of tolerance to the point of stupidity, would argue that in such a situation, they would be calm and rational. But straight up, I wouldn't count on it.